Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us for another wonderful tasting with the Virtual Tasting Society. I am Vadim Perlovsky, and today we are joined by Teeling. Teeling is an Irish whiskey distillery in Dublin that I'm a huge fan of, and I'm excited to have them come back. Joining us from Teeling today is Lucy Yepez. She is the new local brand ambassador for Teeling Irish whiskey. We have a fantastic lineup in front of us. We have 6 different expressions, one of them being new and the other one being a single cast that we all loved last time. So it's going to be a fantastic lineup. We are really excited for tonight. David, do you want to say a couple words?
You know I always do, Vadim.
Love it.
Thank you very much, Lucy, for being here and joining us this evening and kind of walking us through and a brand that I am also a huge fan of. The last time we had Teeling on, I think Sean was saying we bought everything out of the area, Total Wine, of a particular expression. So we're huge fans. I also like to say and give our appreciation to Vadim for all the work that he puts into bringing us these virtual tasting events. I know it's a lot of hard work, and we do appreciate it. So welcome, everybody. It's great to see you again, and let's have some fun and drink some good whiskey.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. Welcome, everyone. We're excited to see a few new faces. So for anyone joining us for the first time, we just want to let you know we are here to ask questions and get nerdy. This is not it's not a one-way TV show. You're not on YouTube. We are here to ask Lucy all the hard questions, get really nerdy with the brand. Whatever you want to know, that's what we're here for today. So make sure you're using the chat feature. If we have polls, make sure you vote in those. It's all about participation today. That said, we do ask that you keep yourself on mute unless you're actively participating, so we don't get background noise and cars going by and dogs barking and whatnot. But other than that, feel free to unmute yourself, ask questions in the chat. I'll just be here in the background, kind of making sure we run smoothly and having fun and nobody's talking over each other. But yeah, that said, Lucy, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. As we begin, we do have one question for you. What is the order we're tasting in tonight?
We're going to do the Trinity first. So I have it all right here. So it's the small batch, single grain, single malt, and then we'll do pot still, black pits, and we'll end it with the chestnut cask, the single cask.
Can you do that again, but a little bit slower so I can put my bottles in order, please?
Yes. Small batch, single grain, single malt, pot still, black pits, and the cask strength.
Thank you.
Jane had all 6 of them in the right
Jane
order.
beat me. I messed 2 of them up. Wow, it's embarrassing. I would have, you know what? I'm excited to try them in that order. It'll be fantastic.
Put the chestnut first.
I would put the chestnut before the black pits, just because I think the black pits is peaty, but you've done this more than I have, so I'll trust your judgment.
It's also like high proof, so
it'll be good either way. Look,
Yep.
This is fantastic whiskey.
we can decide later if people want to do it the other way around. I don't care to switch it around either. It's not gonna.
Sounds good. We can decide when we get to those last 2 expressions. And I think everyone has some chocolates in front of them, so feel free to taste those as we go. So enjoy those. Lucy, you have some of those. I don't know if you had a chance to kind of nibble before we started, so you can tell us pairings, but other than that, just enjoy and have fun.
I have the box. I have not tried them.
Okay.
I took the plastic off of it before I did this. They look yummy though.
Awesome. Yeah. So the ones that were shipped got the 5 singles because those fit in the shipping boxes. The ones that were local got the box. So everybody got something sweet. Just a little something.
Perfect.
So yeah.
Does everybody have a glass of water?
We do, and most people have 6 glasses in front of them as well.
Perfect. Yeah. Make sure you have a glass of water, and make sure you have an empty glass as well for if you guys want to spit, which you probably won't. You're home. You don't need to spit.
What?
But just in
We just pour smaller portions.
Yeah, I have an issue with that one.
You're in the right place.
All right, you want me to let me share my screen?
Go right ahead.
Hold on one sec. Mhm. Okay. Where am I? Share screen. Share. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. Yay. It's my first time using Zoom, so I mean, I've used Zoom a long time ago, but so anyways, if I need help, I'm gonna ask you guys.
Sounds good.
Okie doke. Let's see, here we go. What is Irish whiskey? Well, it is to be an Irish whiskey, obviously has to be distilled and made in Ireland. We use malted grains and unmalted grains and some cereals. We ferment the yeast. It's fermented by the yeast, sorry, and then it's distilled, matured in wooden casks such as oak for a minimum of 3 years, and it contains non-additives and or caramel coloring. And it's bottled no less than 40%. That is to be considered an Irish whiskey. That is not per se what we follow, but that is to be that is for Irish whiskey in a whole. Irish whiskey is the fastest growing whiskey category in the world right now. Actually, just today, a article came out saying that Irish whiskey category, it has grown in the last year, I think by 18%, which is massive, which is really awesome since, you know, the whiskey was invented in Ireland, as they say. We'll get into a little bit more of that later. And look at my introduction over here. That came off a little wrong. I hope everybody's drinking. I always want to start off with, you know, have a sip of what I'm drinking. If you guys want to pour yourself the small batch, that's what we're going to start off with. Take a little sips here and there because I don't want to get, I want you guys to have fun. I want you guys to learn a little something. But at the end of the day, we're home and we're trying to have fun, and it's, I don't want it to be so serious. So drink whatever you want. And then as we go, you guys can switch to whatever we're tasting at the time. All right, so this is Jack and Stephen Teeling, and they are the founders of Teeling Irish Whiskey. We'll get a little bit more into them a little bit later, but this is what they look like. And they're super awesome. I've actually never met them in person. I'm supposed to meet them this year, but I've met them through Zoom, and they both are super, super sweet, really young, and really approachable. And they seem like somebody that I want to hang out with. So that's always fun because I've definitely met people in the whiskey world that you're like, how did you get into whiskey? Anyways, here we go. So Teeling goes all the way back to 1782. Walter Teeling started a small little distillery in Marrowbone Lane in Dublin, Ireland. From there, I mean, this is like the short version. I'll get more in depth into everything else a little bit later, but this is just like everything in a nutshell. 1782 is when it started. 2012 is when Jack and Stephen Teeling started building the new distillery in Dublin. 2015 is when they opened the doors. But like I said, we'll get into a little bit more of it a little bit later. The Phoenix. The Phoenix is our logo that's on every bottle, and it represents rebirth. So Phoenix is rising from a pot still ashes. And Stephen and Jack picked this logo because they wanted to represent something that was basically taken away before, and it's coming back, and they rebirthed it in Dublin. So I think they picked an awesome logo. Not only is the meaning behind it really awesome, the logo is super cool. Okay, here we go. This is our Trinity line. This is what we're going to start off with. This is small batch. Small batch is our flagship. It's our blended whiskey, and it is 50 casks or less. It's 2/3 corn, 1/3 malted barley. And it's aged for 6 years in bourbon cask and then mixed for about 6 months to a year in Caribbean rum barrels, which is really innovative and very different from what all other Irish whiskeys were doing at the time. Let's have a taste of this and see what everybody thinks so we can get to drinking, because these slides are going to take a while.
You said it's 2/3 corn, 1/3 malted barley?
Correct.
Okay. Do you have an age? I mean, minimum of 3 years, but what's
Minimum of 7, because it's aged for 6 years in bourbon and about 6 months to a year in Caribbean.
Oh, cool.
Yep. Yeah, all of this is our youngest. It's not even our, you know what I mean? Like that's the youngest we'll go is 7 years. We don't.
Okay. And this is sourced, right? This is not distilled by you guys.
This is all our whiskey is distilled in not at our distillery per se. So it's everything is, I'm sorry, what am I saying? It is all distilled at the distillery, but it is not aged at the distillery. So it is barreled somewhere else, but everything is made at the distillery. Yeah, everything is made at the distillery, but it's not barreled. We don't have enough space for all the barrels. So they send the barrels off to age somewhere about an hour away from the distillery. But yes, everything is made at the distillery. I thought you told me you had been to the distillery, no?
No, when I visited Dublin, the distillery wasn't operational yet. I was there 5 years ago.
Oh, really? It opened in
Six.
2015, so you must have been there before that.
Yeah, so 6, I guess, just over 6 years ago.
Got it. Yes, everything is made at the distillery.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
And Lucy, if I remember correctly, these are non-chill filtered?
Yep, we'll get into that in a moment.
Okay.
Yes, I love
saying it on the small batch. I wanted to share that it brings back that mouthfeel that a non-chill filtered really kind of offers itself.
Yes. And I can talk about it right now. I love. That's
Please.
one of my favorite things about our whiskey. So there's 2 things that our whiskey is, and all of our bottlings are 92 proof. Every single one of them is 92 proof. You know, except the chestnut cask, which is a special release. This is 55. I always forget this one because this one isn't even available anymore. But this one's high.
That's because we bought them all, Lucy.
Yeah, I guess so. Thank you for letting me know where to buy this one, actually, because I was like, I don't have that. So this is at 55%. So this one's a little higher, but all our core 5, they're all 92 proof and they're all non-chill filter. And non-chill filter means, I like to give the analogy of like when you cook chicken soup and you put it in the refrigerator, it builds a fat cap on top. And that fat cap is the flavors of the soup. When you go to warm up the soup, you're not ripping that off and throwing it away ever. At least I'm not. So basically that's what non-chill filter means. Basically they're making the whiskey cold. They're letting all the oils and particles rise to the top. And then they're throwing that away to make it chill filtered. But we do non-chill filter. So we keep all the flavors in because all those oils are what we like to say is the flavor of our amazing whiskey.
Yes, the congeners and sort of the natural fatty acids
100%.
I think are just wonderful to any kind of a whiskey expression. But, you know, as you well know with your background, you know, you get those kind of lower proof whiskeys that are non-chill filtered, and you might get a little bit of, you know, cloudy precipitation, but, you know, that's just a temperature thing, and that will go away.
Yes. And then also if you put a drop of water, sometimes it'll get a little cloudy because of the oils as well. Another thing our whiskey is known to be is the oiliest whiskey out there. And it is because we non-chill filter. There is other whiskeys that non-chill filter as well. But if you put a drop of this in your hand and you rub your hands together,
right,
you will notice how silky smooth it is and how fast it dries on your hands, and you won't be sticky. Like usually whiskey gets you very sticky. It will not. Our single grain actually is considered to be the oiliest of all the whiskeys. And I think it has something to do with the California Cabernet barrels also. But yes, non-chill filter for our whiskeys is, I think, phenomenal. Also, you know what? I didn't mention a little bit about me. I don't know if you guys read Vadim's bio on me, but just in case you didn't, I've been in whiskey for about 14 years. I worked at 7 Grand downtown, 7 Grand Whiskey Bar downtown for about 13 years. I used to buy barrels for them. I've gone to Ireland. I've gone to Kentucky many times and picked out single barrels for 7 Grand. Until I was at 7 Grand until the pandemic hit. Started my own little cocktail business during the pandemic, and then moved on to working with Teeling. I worked for a tequila company for a tequila company that was like a small little new tequila that came out that was really great. And then I moved on to Teeling. I always wanted to get back into whiskey because that's where my heart is and that's where my passion is. And
Lucy, did you ever go to Woodford Reserve? Because when
yes,
I've been there a couple times. You see a lot of 7 Grand barrels of their barrel program.
yes,
Like a ton.
a lot, yeah. So I had the pleasure of going to Woodford and actually doing we mixed 2 barrels together to do a bottling, which was really awesome. And obviously, not a lot of people get to do this unless you have like $10,000 to buy a barrel. I was lucky enough to work for a company that was buying them, and so it was really, really fun. Woodford is actually one of my favorite distilleries in Kentucky. It's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. It is
Gorgeous. And then the what makes it even more gorgeous is that their neighbor, whoever they are, they have these amazing horses that are just galloping in their front yard.
It is. Yeah, it is kind of amazing. Have you been there since they've changed their visitor center out?
Last time I was there was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, so probably not.
Okay. And I do apologize for sidetracking the
No,
conversation.
this is fine. This is, you know what? We're having fun. I don't want it to be so like stuffy.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So please, anybody who has a thought, wants to talk, wants to share, please.
So
Please.
the small batch is the blended that's on the screen right now, right? That's the one
Yes.
we're tasting now, and
Correct.
next is going to be the single malt that's going to come out.
The
right?
next is going to be the single grain.
Single grain. Sorry.
Yes. Okay, so we'll get into a little bit more of each. Actually, I'm going to come back to this slide. Because but when we're done with all of the tasting all the expression, I'll come back to the slide if I remember. Remind me, guys. That is a true statement right there. No good story can be told without a whiskey in hand. Right. I feel like we need music or something. Okay. So we just went through this. Corn, here's just more of a visual for you guys. Corn, barley, ex-bourbon cast, and then ex-rum cast. I do not know where the rum cast came from. We buy them from different places. So I know that's the number one question I always get asked. So I'd like to get ahead of that.
Interesting. So your grain and your malt are aged separately and then married together after the 3 years. After the 6 years.
Yes.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yes. I'll get into more about our master distiller, but Alex Chasko is our master distiller, and he's actually from Oregon, which is really cool. So it is an American making this whiskey, which is awesome. But I'll get into his story in a little bit. But basically, he is really innovative and likes to use different types of barrels and different types of wood that nobody's ever used before. So when he was creating this whiskey, he actually did it a little different than other people would do it. So people usually, when they're making whiskey, they don't have a flavor profile per se in their head beforehand. They'll make the whiskey and then pick out the flavor profile as they taste the whiskey. Alex did it differently. He had in his head that he wanted a taste profile of a rum raisin type profile. So that is what his goal was, is to make a whiskey that brought that profile out. And so when he was trying to create this whiskey, he tested so many different types of barrel trying to reach that goal of the rum raisin note. And he finally figured it out with the Caribbean rum casks. And when he also did this, nobody had ever used a Caribbean rum cask. Irish whiskey had not used a Caribbean rum cask before. I think the Scotch had, but Irish whiskey had not been aged in Caribbean rum casks. And I heard a story that Alex, before he released this bottling, Alex lives in Ireland, as you guys can probably guess. He went to a few whiskey clubs that were in the area, and he brought this bottle of whiskey, and he'd have everybody try it. And everybody that tried it was kind of dumbfounded at the fact that they couldn't pinpoint what that different flavor profile was, because most Irish whiskey is aged in sherry. So the sherry pops immediately when you're tasting any kind of whiskey, the sherry pops. When they tasted this, they were like, what's that note? What's that note? I can't figure it out. When he finally told them it's raisin or rum raisin, and he told them that he had aged it in Caribbean rum, they were all super surprised and pleasantly surprised, I should say, because like I said, really innovative. Nobody had ever done it before, and everybody loved it. And that is why he launched this specific. This was his baby. This was his number one, our flagship. So this is fine. When he got that reaction from the crowd and at whiskey clubs that know their stuff, he was like, this is it. This is what I'm putting out. So this is how it came about. What do you guys think of this? Do you have any questions? What do you guys taste? I think the next slide is going to be, yeah. What are we tasting? I love to always hear people's different flavor profiles. Everybody has a different palate. Does anybody taste something different than what they're reading? Because once you read something, I feel like it veers you off. But I like to get what you got I like to hear what you got when you first tasted it out of your own brain.
I got coffee and a hint of chocolate
Mm-hmm.
on the palate.
Okay. I can see that. I can totally see that. So this makes a phenomenal Irish coffee. And this is the specific whiskey that we use for our Irish coffee, because it something to do with the rum raisin and the coffee that blends so well together. So if you haven't had an Irish coffee with this whiskey, you need to. It's delicious. Anybody else want to share what they taste? I'm going to start picking people.
Even though there's no unmalted in it, it's instead of rum raisin, I always get buttered rum. And I think it's just that it's so oily that it gives you that feel with the sweetness of that butteriness that you get in some of the pot stills. And it just gives, it just sits there forever lingering after you've taken a sip.
Yeah. And this is also the whiskey that we use a lot at bars and restaurants and hotels and stuff like that for mixing cocktails, because it's so, what's the word? It's just, you get so many different flavors from this whiskey that you can make fruity cocktails, you can make, spirit forward cocktails, you can make coffee cocktails, you can make all kinds of cocktails. And it has to, and I honestly think it's because of the Caribbean rum cask and that sweetness it has in it. But also it stands out because of the 92 proof. So that's also another win-win on my end, at least. Some people do like the more mellow whiskeys. I'm not one of those people.
Lucy, can you talk about how this expression has changed at all since that won the double gold in San Francisco, which I understand is a really big deal?
How it's changed in what sense?
I mean, when they're doing the batching and the blending and the flavor profiles, I mean, are they trying to stay right in that kind of one particular flavor lane?
Yes.
Okay.
He's not trying to veer away from this. Like when he creates a bottling, like this one is specifically, I mean, this, like I said, is our flagship. He tries to get the exact same taste profile every single time.
Well, it's an exceptional expression. I mean, this is, I think, is something that would be perfect for somebody who's wanting to get into whiskeys. They might have liked, some cocktails, but they may want to have just sip on something that's not going to be, overpowering. It's not overproofed. It's not overpeated. It just has a really nice, and again, the texture, the mouthfeel is just, blows me. It's just phenomenal.
And also, like I said, I've been in whiskey for a very long time. Usually when there's a lineup of many SKUs for a category or of any whiskey, usually the bottom SKU is the least attracted, right? I think that we start off with a bang with the first one. Honestly, I'm a little biased because I love Teeling, but I really, really, really believe that like we hit it out of the ballpark with the first one. I mean, it's going to even get better with our other expressions, but the first one you can sip on, you can put ice in it, and you can make cocktails. I mean, you can do it all.
Yeah, this is fantastic. And I agree, 46% is the lowest we like to drink. So this is a solid entry level. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the others.
Yes. Has anybody not had this whiskey? Is there a few people on here that have not had it? I can't see everybody. Vadim, can you tell me?
Not had it ever. I don't drink a lot of Irish whiskey, but I liked the small batch. Had some really nice candied fruit and grain notes, both on the nose and the palate, and a pretty good finish for only being 46%.
I like you only being 46%. That's probably why you don't drink Irish whiskey, right? Because most of it is 40%. Yeah, I didn't used to drink Irish whiskey either before this. I mean, the only Irish whiskeys I drank before this are like the red breast or the red spots and all the higher proof Irish whiskeys that are pot still because they had more flavor and are higher proof. I never liked any of the other stuff, but you didn't hear that from me.
I think that's one of the misconceptions that a lot of whiskey drinkers have, though, is that they chase a higher proof. And, after drinking whiskey since, I was in my 20s, which I won't tell you how many years that was. I don't chase a higher proof because I've found that it's insane. I don't think you have to chase a higher proof to get good flavor. And so I do make fun of those people that are always chasing higher proof to feel like they're getting a good whiskey, because I don't think you have to.
You should harass those people.
Yeah, say that to Ling T whenever he logs on.
There are a few of those that do, that and they do know that I do make fun of them when they do log on.
I was going to say that, Lucy, that I don't know if this had to be one of the first Irish whiskeys that Vadim was one of the early expressions that he brought to the group. And I think it blew me away because I was mostly just a bourbon drinker.
Yeah. And our single grain, Alex created our single grain whiskey for bourbon drinkers. Mm-hmm. So he had a plan for everything he was doing.
And I put it in the right glass.
But you are right with the mouthfeel on the single grain, the mouthfeel on this. And there are several Irish whiskeys that I've had that definitely do have a wonderful silky mouthfeel. Yeah. And it is due to that non-chill filtering that I do chase after.
Yeah. The silkiness, yeah, it's really nice. And I don't per se chase after like the high proof whiskeys per se. I just tend to like them a little bit better. I'm not saying that I don't like 80% also. I mean, I think not all whiskey is phenomenal, but all whiskey has something good about it. So, I mean, some whiskeys that are really peaty, I can't do the higher proof either. They have to be a lower proof for me. So it just depends. Everybody has a different palate. So we always got to remember that. And women, have taste buds than men, just FYI, if nobody knew that.
We know that.
Here's the Irish coffee. Like I said earlier, the small batch mixes wonderfully with an Irish
Wow.
coffee.
Okay, we don't have any double cream.
Yeah, just heavy whipping cream, demerara sugar, nice brewed coffee, and some Teeling.
Are we drinking the single grain now?
Yeah, let's move
Okay.
on. I have a little.
The nose on this? Mmm.
On the single grain? Whoever said that?
Yep.
I'm sorry, I'm on the single malt.
Oh, are you?
Oh,
This guy, always overachiever, getting ahead of us.
single grain.
I'm on the single grain. It's lovely.
Yes, the single grain is one of my favorites out of this whole lineup.
And what does it mean for that? It's a single grain?
So let me get to that slide. Where am I? And then I'll come back to this because this is going to be a lot of talking. Here's a single grain.
Okay.
So the single grain is, here we go. It says it's 95% corn, but it's really about 98% corn and very, very minimal percent of malted barley. The reason why they say it's 95% corn, 5% malted, it's just 1%. One reason is because it's easier to, it looks better 95 than 5%. And they have to say there's a little bit of barley in there because, so basically they don't add any extra malted barley to it. They're putting the corn in. Corn basically is missing an enzyme to help ferment. So barley is what helps corn ferment. So when they're putting it into the big lauter tons, they leave a little bit of the malted barley in there to help it ferment. So when I usually tell people, it's usually when I'm like on the go, I usually tell people it's 100% corn just because it's easier. I'm with you guys. It's a little more in depth. So it is distilled in a column still, which is these stills right here on the right. So it goes all the way up and my God, I'm losing my words right now. The vapors, fall down and that's how it creates the whiskey. It's 100% matured in California Cabernet barrels for 6 years. So that's why this whiskey, again, super innovative, very, very, very different. He gets the barrels from California. A lot of them are from Frank Rombauer and family. I also think we get stuff from other places in Napa.
So this one never touched ex-bourbon barrels. This one 100% mature in cab solver.
100%. Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay.
So this is the whiskey that Alex created for bourbon drinkers.
Yeah, because if you were making this in the US, this would be corn whiskey.
True.
Correct.
This is
Yes.
Irish mellow corn.
Yep. Well,
I like the sound of that.
I would have used something else than mellow corn. This one is super silky, super, I think on the next one is the notes. Let's see. Yeah. It's creamy. It's a little spicy. Yes. So lots of red berries. And then from the California Cabernet barrels and the tannins in the wine, it gives it a back feeling in the back of your cheeks that makes it kind of like dry. A little tannic influence from the red wine. What do you guys think about this one?
I'm enjoying the tannins.
This is very good.
It's delicious.
Yeah, I really like this one too.
Teeling
has-
is one of those brands that I think is just underrepresented in the marketplace because of the quality of it.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Little by little.
It's interesting with the Cabernet that like getting a caramel vanilla and like a little minerality, almost like a saltwater taffy or something like that. And definitely get the dark fruit in that kind of in the back of the palate that way.
Are you guys trying your chocolates with these, by the way, or have you tried your chocolates with them? Anybody?
Yes.
I'm gonna try one.
Not yet. Going to now.
I know, me too. I don't know which one. I'm just gonna do eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Vadim, where'd you get these things?
I have my secret spaces. I will not tell.
Oh, whatever.
Isn't there that big store with a big A on it? That delivers.
Target.
You should Target Boutique.
Well, I got lucky and pulled out a nice little coconut creamy thing that is wonderful.
You should tell me that one because I took one that had strawberry something in it, and
Me too. I just got the strawberry one too. It's not matching.
no, that did not work for me.
Russian roulette. One of them is going to be wet socks. So good luck.
Well, that doesn't sound good.
That one pairs perfectly with the peated expression.
I don't know about that. That's just a little crunchy one. All right, now I'm getting into chocolate. All right, let's move on. Oh, let me go back. Wait, where am I going? I'm going forward. See, this is where I get lost. Sorry, guys. I moved forward.
We did get our fancy glasses for tonight.
Ooh, they're beautiful. Where'd you get those?
That's my amazing store that begins with a capital A. That delivers to your door the next day.
Those are beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Those aren't two off glasses, right? Okay. Yeah, Lucy, go
Here
ahead.
we go.
Yeah.
All right, let me find my slide. I think we're here.
Yep.
Irish whiskey story, history. You guys were blocking the HI on the history part. Joke. Okay, so this is the Golden Triangle, where so back in 1782, when Teeling Distillery was first around, there was 37 different distilleries at the time, and they were all in this Golden Triangle here in Dublin, in the Marrowbone Lane area. So in 1976 is when they shut down the distillery, and it was for 4 different reasons that the demise of Irish whiskey happened. So whiskey was originally from Ireland, is what they say. It used to be called Ishka, and it was shortened to whiskey after the years. So 4 different things happened basically. So one thing that happened was Aeneas Coffey. Aeneas Coffey was the inventor of the column still. So he invented this column still in the early 1800s and was trying to sell it to different distilleries for them to use his column still. He first went to Ireland because that's where he was from. So he went to Ireland. I think he was a postman, if I remember correctly. He went to the distilleries in Ireland and said, "This is what I've created. It makes whiskey faster. You can make more money, da 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 da." And oops, sorry, my cat just jumped on the table. And the Irish people refused. They were like, "Nope, we like to make our whiskey in pot stills. So when you're making whiskey in pot stills, it takes a lot longer, and you can only make a certain amount at a time because you have one pot still. And in column still, you have a bunch of whiskey going up the column still and coming down, and it just, it goes in. So basically you're making like an ocean of whiskey with a column still, and you're making a pool of whiskey with a pot still. But the Irish refused. They thought that switching from making Irish whiskey from a pot still to a column still would take away the flavors of their whiskey and would change the flavors in their whiskey. So Anais Coffee moved on and went to Scotland. And in Scotland, of course, they were like 100% yes, let's use it. So the Scotch people started making tons of whiskey because of the column still, and the Irish got left behind because they decided to stay with the pot still. So when Prohibition hit, Scotch was coming over to the United States. Irish, because of the Irish refused to send Irish whiskey to the United States because they were Catholic, and Prohibition was a Catholic movement. So they refused to send Irish whiskey over. So that was the second reason why. So Prohibition, Anais Coffee, and then Father Matthews. Father Matthews was this really well-known pope in Ireland that decided he wanted to change people from drinking hard spirits into only drinking beer. So he swore the Irish people off into from drinking hard liquor to drinking beer. He basically said, if you drink a pint of hard liquor, it's bad for your health. If you drink a pint of beer, it's good for your health. And they all listened because Ireland is a highly, highly, highly Catholic country. So that was the third reason. And then the fourth reason was the Irish independence, where the Irish versus England, and England won. And when when Ireland won, English people stopped the tariffs from coming back and forth from different countries, from Ireland to Australia, Ireland to Shanghai, blah, blah, blah. So they stopped all those tariffs, and they weren't able to ship over Irish whiskey like they used to. So that cut them off. So those four factors in Irish whiskey is what happened at the end of 1976, is when the last distillery closed in Ireland. So I'm sorry, rewind, not the last distillery, 1.5 distilleries stayed open. So originally, before everything started happening, there was 104 distilleries. By the end of it, only 1.5 distilleries stayed open. And those 1.5 distilleries, one being the half distillery being Bushmills, and I'll explain to you why it was half, and the one distillery being Irish Distillers, where Jameson is made and Redbreast is made and Red Spot and all those Irish whiskeys are made. And that is unfortunately what happened with Irish whiskey. Another thing that I wanted to bring to light is that at the time, Irish whiskey, before all this was going on, Prohibition, Father Matthews, Anais Coffee and all this, before all that, Irish whiskey was the most sought out whiskey. Everybody loved Irish whiskey. So when Prohibition happened and they couldn't get Irish whiskey anymore because they weren't shipping any Irish whiskey over, the bootleggers in the States were trying to sell Irish whiskey, but it really wasn't Irish whiskey. They were making moonshine and darkening it up with like a little bit of bootstrap polish to give it the color of whiskey, and then selling it off saying it was Irish whiskey, which people were like,
rectification.
Yep. So people were drinking that going, what the hell happened to Irish whiskey? This is not Irish whiskey. Obviously, no, it was not. But so those are the four big factors on what happened to Irish whiskey. John Teeling, which is Jack and Stephen's dad, he went to Scotland and got a master's in Irish whiskey. when he did that, he learned tons about rebuilding, I guess, the Irish community. And all he wanted to do was go back to Ireland and bring back Irish whiskey to Ireland. So when he got his master's in Irish whiskey in 1987, he went to Ireland and he opened up the Cooley distillery and the Kilbeggan distillery right thereafter. It wasn't in Dublin, it was in Ireland off the coast somewhere up north. And when he built that distillery, it was during the Civil War in Ireland, with the green versus orange. So everybody was like, John, you shouldn't build your distillery here. They're going to blow you up. And he was like, no, they're going to leave me alone. I'm making Irish whiskey. Everybody wants to drink Irish whiskey. And he was right. They didn't blow him up. Well, they didn't blow up the distillery, I guess. So he had Cooley Distillery, Kilbeggan Distillery, which he then sold in 2011 to Jim Beam. Jim Beam bought the distillery for $100 million. The thing is, the distillery was really only worth about $20 to $25 million. But Jim Beam wanted to buy a distillery in Ireland, and all the other distilleries that he had gone to kept saying no. So they didn't want to get a no answer again. So they really raised their price, basically. Also, with that being said, Jack and Stephen Teeling had been working at the Cooley Distillery now for years. And during their exchange of the distilleries, part of the deal was that the brothers asked for 47,000 barrels of whiskey from the distillery. So that is how we're able to have a 24-year, a 30-year that's coming out here pretty soon. And that's why we're able to have all these higher age statement whiskeys, is because the brothers had 47,000 barrels of whiskey that they got from Cooley Distillery. So people always ask that question, like, you just opened in 2015, how do you have a 30-year? And that is the reason why. So in 2010, the brothers decided they wanted to, after the deal, they wanted to stay within whiskey. They loved whiskey. So that's when they brought back whiskey to Dublin. Whiskey in Dublin, there hadn't been a distillery in Dublin for 125 years. So they built a brand new, innovative distillery down the street from the original distillery from 1782. In 2010, they started building it. I'm sorry, in 2012 is when they started building it. And then in 2015 is when they opened their doors to customers. Yeah, that's about it on that. Anybody have any questions or anything to say? No? Okay. Moving on. I think it's really awesome. So that was the very first distillery, just so I can point out, it was the very first distillery. So Bushmills has always been there. It's not in Dublin. Kilbeggan, not in Dublin. Teeling Distillery was the very first distillery in Dublin. Now there is about 37 distilleries that have opened up in Dublin, which was amazing. So they brought back the distillery and revamped and, brought that whole town back to life in the whiskey category. So this is what it looks like now with all the distilleries, which is amazing.
You said there's 38 distilleries in the city of Dublin?
Yep, and county.
Okay, wow.
A lot of them are small. It's just yeah, a lot of people are popping up with different distilleries now. Jameson is far. Jameson is in Cork County, which is a few hours away. Lots of distilleries in Ireland, but Dublin is a new, again, like I said, it's the new place to make whiskey compared to before, though. That's where it originated from. Yes, this is just a visual slide for everybody to read all. We got tons of awards. The distilleries won a ton of awards. Our whiskeys have won tons of awards. Our whiskey in general has been the most awarded whiskey in the Irish category ever. The Black Pits that we'll taste here in a few minutes just got number 3 in the magazine Whiskey Advocacy, which is really awesome. Yep, like I said, first distillery, 125 years. And we just tasted the single grain. So let's move on to the single malt. I'm gonna move forward. Single malt. Anybody have any questions? You guys are supposed to get nerdy with me. You're not getting nerdy.
I'm learning.
Okay, so let me go back really quick and say a little bit about Alex Chasko. This is out. That's Stephen. Before I get into the single malt, here's Alex. Like I said, he's from Oregon. Master Distiller, Master Blender. He won Blender of the Year award, Master Distiller of the Year in 2019. He comes from a beer brewing background. In I forget the name of the brewing company, something that's Bridgco Brewing. Bridgco, is that right? I think I'm pronouncing that wrong. Anyhow, he went to Scotland to get his master's in distilling. While in Scotland, he met his wife and his Irish wife that was in Scotland and decided to move to Ireland. That's when he actually also worked at the Cooley Distillery with Jack and Stephen Teeling. And he was the very first hire when the guys opened up the Teeling Distillery. He is, like I mentioned earlier, really innovative with wood. And luckily you can do that in Ireland. You couldn't do that in the States because we have really, really strict laws and rules about what kind of wood you have to use. In Ireland, you can basically use any type of wood. So he's also known to be the master of wood. He goes all around the world looking for different types of wood that he can use that nobody's ever used before. We have a new expression coming out here in the next few months, which is called the Wonders of Wood. So look out for that. And that specific expression will be aged in a wood that nobody's ever used before, and it's called chinkapin wood. I don't know anything much about any of that yet because I haven't even tasted the whiskey, but that's just something to look forward to that should be coming out this summer.
Lucy, I have a question about that,
Yeah.
related to that. With that particular expression, do you know which retailers will be getting any sort of an allocation, or is it pretty, is there enough of it that everybody's going to get some? K&L, Mission, Village, OC, any big box, any grocery stores, or is this going to be just to a few of your more preferred retailers?
I can't answer that.
Okay.
I don't want to give you the wrong answer, so I'd rather give you no answer. I know that it will be available soon. I don't know how much of it we're getting.
Okay.
And like I said, I don't want to speak on it because sometimes they tell us one thing and then it ends up being something else. And I hate to give you the wrong information.
Okay.
But as soon as I do hear the correct answer, I will let you know.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. The only thing I know about chinkapin wood, though, is that it comes from climates that are very moist and very, they're from like Vermont and stuff like that, where it's very mossy and stuff. I've never heard of this wood or tree. Has anybody?
It's not in the tropical regions when I think.
No, it's in the States.
Humid, but you're saying like things are going to be more in the northern part of the
Yep.
continent that's going to have a lot, like Seattle, Washington, those places.
No, I think it's more east.
The East Coast
Yeah.
goes down to Mexico. It grows on limestone.
Oh, you know this. Yay.
I know.
It also, there's also a version of the chinkapin that grows in Oregon, right?
Ooh.
So on the coastal side of Oregon, so very moist, like you said.
Yeah. And I wonder if that's awesome to hear. I wonder if that's why Alex knew about it, because he's from Oregon.
Probably.
Yeah, it looks like it's an American oak type, and it looks like there's a bourbon aged in chinkapin oak.
Yeah, awesome. So this is basically everything we use for our whiskeys in a cute little phoenix form. Water, yeast, wheat, barley, and unmalted barley. And then a rye. We haven't used, I mean, okay, so another thing I should mention is that the distillery makes a lot of whiskey that the US doesn't get. So they have tons of expressions that we do not get to see. So they might have made a whiskey with rye or in wheat, but none of the expressions that we're tasting, none of them have rye or wheat in them. And this, the yeast that we use is a South African wine yeast and a distiller's yeast. The distiller's yeast is what normally, it's like what everybody uses, kind of. The South African white yeast is a little different. It gives it more of the soft flavorings to the whiskey, as I've been told. So this is our distillery inside. These are our lauter tons that are made of Oregon pine. And the whiskey stays in here for about 48 hours. It's a little closer look of them.
Now, you all are doing it's a wet grind or
Yes.
mill instead of the standard. And is that just because they're in downtown and they don't want it to explode in downtown Dublin?
Yes and no. So it's also because they're enclosed, so it's safe. And another thing I'd like to mention about our distillery, that it's 100% green and sustainable. So we don't waste anything. Our barley comes from the malting house of Ireland. Our hot water in our lauter tons is heated with recycled. The water is heated from our recycled from our pot still, sorry, and it's kept at 68 degrees. Yeah. Anybody have? Oh, I was gonna say. So these are our 3 stills. Aren't they pretty? And the 3 stills are named after Stephen Teeling's daughters. So it's Natalie, Rebecca, and Allison. I don't know if you can see, their names are on the front, but I don't think you can see them in this picture. So that's Natalie, Rebecca, and Allison.
What's the capacity of those stills?
What was that?
What was the capacity? How much are they putting out?
Good question. I don't know off the top of my head, but I probably have it in here somewhere.
No worries, not a big deal.
Let's see. Not exactly sure. No, it's some here somewhere. Anyways, when I find out the answer, I'll let Vadim know and he can. 15,000 liters. That's how much.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. This is where we keep our barrels, not at the distillery, somewhere else. And our single malt. Okay, so I love our single malts. I like to call it our dessert wine. Our dessert whiskey. because it's super innovative, it has a sweetness to it. It's an after dinner kind of whiskey. Please taste it. I'm sure you guys have been drinking it already, but let me know what you think. Oh, this whiskey's so good. And every sip tastes different. And I'll tell you why. Is it here? Where is it? Oh man, where'd it go? Here it is. Anyway, I skipped it. So it's aged in 5 different barrels. It's matured in the sherry, aged in Cabernet, white wine, port, and Madeira. Each one for about 6 months, give or take. If you ask Alex which was his hardest whiskey to create, he'll say this one. And this one took him 6 months and 27 tries, he says. So he kept trying out different barrels for this one and taking it to the guys, and the guys tasting it, and the guys saying, it's missing something. So you have to go back and, anyways, at the end of the day, he ended up with 5 barrels, which is, a lot for a whiskey. 5 barrels. I mean, not only does it take a really long time, you get a different taste in every sip. The first sip tastes like something, the second sip tastes like something else, and you're like, where did that come from? And it's because all these different characteristics and different flavors are coming through in different sips. I mean, at least that's what I get. If you guys get something different, please let me know. Do you guys agree with what it says? Tropical passion fruit, full body, vibrant, fruity. What are we thinking?
I get stone fruit. I get a lot of stone fruit, like a ripe peach, or more like a nectarine for me.
I get lots of melon. There's cantaloupe and honeydew, and then it goes into the stone fruit. And it's funny because when you list off those casks for finishing, I can think of a couple of scotches that use similar casks and have 5, 6 different casks. But the only thing you taste in those is the finish. Whereas with this one, it's still, you've got that much finishing, that many different casks, but I still taste whiskey. Like I still taste the actual barley.
Yeah.
It didn't take it over.
Which is awesome, right? I mean, which is kind of crazy because that's 5 different barrels.
So it's 5 different barrel types that are aging this whiskey, aging the 100% malted barley, and then they're married together in different proportions.
No. This is 100% malted barley.
Yeah, that's what yeah.
And then it's moved. So it's aged fully for 6 years in the sherry, and then it's moved to the port, moved to Madeira, moved to white Burgundy, and then moved to the Cabernet.
So how long does it spend in each finish? That's crazy.
I'm going to say 3 to 6 months, depending, give or take.
Okay.
I definitely get the melon on the nose, like full on melon. Full on.
Yeah, I get it too. So we like to call our whiskey, say our whiskey is our small batch whiskey leading with flavor, big flavor. And that's Stephen Teeling.
But there's a Jack Teeling quote.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Wait, hold on. Is that oh crap. That's Stephen, isn't it?
There's a Jack Teeling quote next to him.
I can't, hold on. I'm trying. So on Zoom, it's putting your faces on top of the whole thing and I can't see. Oh, it is Jack Teeling. Sorry, your pictures were right on top of his name. Sorry.
I'll try to move. Sorry.
That is Jack Teeling. Like I said, I haven't met them in person. I've met them through Zoom. Jack and Stephen quote. Non-chill filter. This is what we went over earlier. leading with flavor, innovative, 92 proof, hand selected casks. So then moving on to our pot still.
I'm a real fan of pot still and Irish. I
Me
mean,
too.
I've just really found that several of the Irish whiskeys that I love, pot still seems to be what I love most in all of them. So this is one of the Teeling ones that I haven't had. And I'm also real interested in trying the last three. So I'm glad that we've had this final three to try.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I was the same way before I started working for Teeling. Like I said earlier, I really wasn't a big fan of Irish whiskey because it's a little light for my liking in flavor. But out of the Irish whiskeys that I do like, have all been pot still as well. The red breast, the red spot, the green spot, blue spot, yellow spot, all of them are pot still whiskeys.
And pot still is really unique to Ireland, right? That's kind of their unique take on whiskey.
Correct. Yes. So I personally have been to the Jameson distillery, and they have the biggest pot still in the world. It's huge. They don't use it anymore, but it's gigantic, gigantic, gigantic. Single pot still. So this is the very first pot still whiskey made in Dublin it's since 1976, since the last distillery closed in Dublin. So nearly 50 years. 45 years, really, actually, to be.
Oh, the nose on this just blew me away.
It's such a beautiful whiskey. This is also one of my favorites next to the single grain.
I'm serious. The nose on this, I nose this, and the nose on this just blew me away.
It's so beautiful, yeah. So to be considered a pot still whiskey in Ireland, has to be made in Ireland, has to be at least 30% malted barley and 30% unmalted barley. The rest can be any type of cereal. Alex, I should say, decided to make this one 50% malted barley and 50% unmalted barley, which makes it very easy for me as well. It's triple distilled, and then it's aged. It's matured in the virgin oak barrels. Then it's in ex-bourbon barrels and ex-sherry barrels. So it's in the ex-bourbon barrel. 50% of it is in ex-bourbon barrels, 25% American oak, and 25% in sherry. And
Lucy, where are does Teeling malt their own barley, or do they source it?
we source it.
Okay.
Almost everybody in Ireland sources their barley now. It's
So,
a whole other production that would take up massive amounts of time.
Right, but I think the old kind of historic part of the pagodas and the monkey-shouldered guys turning the grain after it's kind of getting malted is I always kind of ask because for me it's kind of a little romantic part, but logistically, logically, to kind of produce for a production standpoint, I know it's very hard to do.
And also Dublin's a city, booming city. There wouldn't be enough space.
There are some on the west coast of Ireland now that are doing their own malting, but they're very small distilleries.
Yeah.
so my question is, go ahead, Kate, sorry.
I was just going to say this: it's interesting to watch the notes, the comments that people are making, and everybody's like, "Oh, I love the nose on this," and for me, then I'm put off of it by the nose. But
Oh, really?
then I taste it, and I enjoy the taste. I enjoy the flavor, but the nose, it's just too funky for me. I don't enjoy the nose at all.
Well, knowing your aversion to peat, that barley funk is there really big. That in some places actually is similar to the peat, is because you're right. It is. It's barley. I mean, it shines through the.
No, but
it is.
But I don't have any trouble with barley, and but I do think it has to do. I think I'm learning that the arms and the height of the pot stills actually makes a difference in And I think, that's probably where the funk comes out for me. And I prefer something with long arms. I'm more like a Glenmorangie, right? Which is got the longest arms out there. And looking at your the photos you had of your pot stills, these are a little bit shorter, and I could see. Anyway, that's my speculation, because who knows? But the flavor is great, which is different from other pot stills I've had, where the funk came through in the flavor as well as in the nose. I'm pleased with it.
And that's why I like to I like to hear everybody's reaction to the whiskey, because everybody is going to have a different taste, a different reaction. I've done many like whiskey festivals and stuff like that, and I can't tell you, I mean, I can have one person love one expression and hate the other expression, and then another person come right behind them and they love the expression the other person hated and hate the expression the other person loved. So everybody has a different palate. Everybody has a different nose. You're going to smell something different than I smell, and it's all okay. It's not all, one singular taste or flavor.
The one thing I do miss from this pot still is that lovely mouthfeel. I do wish that there was a little bit more silkiness to the mouthfeel. I'm missing that, but I do love this. I do love that it has a real complex. You do on this one get a definite front palate, mid palate, and finish. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites. This one and the single grain out of that we've tasted so far are yummy. We're gonna move on to the black. Okay, so let's decide, you guys. I'll give you. I'll let Vadim make the executive decision on this.
I think we got to do Black Pits last. If it's my
The Black
call,
Pits last?
yeah, the peat's gonna overpower the high proof. I think Black Pits last.
Okay, whatever you want. So okay, let's move on to the cast strength, to the chestnut barrel. Now, just FYI, guys, this is not available because I guess Vadim and all his friends bought them all from all of Los Angeles County.
Hi, friends. Most of them are in this room. I did have one question about the pot still. I know originally the pot still was created to save on taxes, right? Because unmalted barley was cheaper than malted barley.
Correct.
Why is it pot still whiskey now is more expensive than, let's say, the single malt? Like your pot still expression is more expensive than the single malt.
Because the pots, you can only make so much in a pot still. So you make smaller quantities.
But
so
isn't the single malt made in the copper pot still as well?
Yeah, but also the unmalted barley is more expensive now because you get less alcohol out of it.
There you go.
Thanks, Jason.
But we're talking about so this is in the pot still and the other ones are in column stills. So all the other whiskeys that we've tried have been run through a column still and not a pot still.
The single malt was run through a column still as well?
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Okay, so I don't have a slide for the chestnut, FYI. So I'm going to leave it on the pot still for now.
Okay.
Because they took it away since it's not available anymore. And I came on board after it was taken away. Right. So like I said, I don't know. I mean, I know a little bit about this one, and I'll tell you a fun story that I was told by Frank, actually. Frank is our regional market manager, if you guys didn't know. So I was asking about the chestnut barrel because I didn't know much about it. So what I asked our global brand ambassador today to give me a little bit about this. So it's a 13-year single malt, and it's aged for about 6 months in a chestnut barrel. Two barrels came to the US in total, and 1 barrel went to Germany. So that's why there was so little of this available. What else do I know about this? So it's 55.1% ABV, which makes it really hot. I think the nose on this is absolutely phenomenal. I get a lot of cherry. I don't know if anybody else gets that, but spicy on the front end for sure. What do you guys think? Also, I mean, if you guys want to add a glass of a little bit of water in there to open it up, I am not against it. So I'll tell you the fun story about how this chestnut came to be, or this chestnut barrel came to be. Like I mentioned before, Alex Chasko goes all around the world looking for different types of barrels. And we buy barrels from, we buy our sherry barrels from Spain, from this bodega that I don't know the name of. He goes there all the time to buy sherry barrels from them. So he went there one time and saw this chestnut barrel. And a chestnut barrel is bigger than a sherry barrel. So it was like off on a corner somewhere. And he asked the guy that worked there, like, what's going on with that barrel? He was like, oh, nothing. He's like, can I have it? And they're like, no, not selling it. Long story short, he went back like 4 or 5 times to buy more barrels. And every single time he was like, what's going on with that barrel over there? Am I ever going to be able to get that barrel? And they finally one day were like, fine, you can have the barrel. It was probably after he bought, you know, a good amount of sherry barrels after the years that they were like, okay, fine, you can have chestnut barrel. So the chestnut barrel is really porous also. So when he put whiskey in it, he lost a lot of whiskey because the barrel was so porous. But it made this amazing whiskey, as you guys just tasted. I mean, it's one of my favorites. I'm sad it's not available anymore. So drink very little and only share with people that you really love. If you have a bottle. But yes, what flavors do you guys get out of this one? Do we like it? Is there anybody that doesn't like it?
Lucy, you're talking to a group that bought out all of Southern California.
Not everybody did, and you have new people here.
Yeah, not everybody, but you know, a lot of us did. So for the new folks,
I get
some chocolate. I get some chocolate notes on this one. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I'm eating chocolate.
Oh, look, I didn't even know you guys had a whole chat going on. Oh, there's 47 freaking things. So you guys are talking to the chat and not me. Okay, I get it.
Well, we don't want to interrupt.
I know, but it's okay. Very sweet all around. I get the wood notes from the chestnut. It has some nice syrupy, fruity thing going on. Nice bit of spice and a solid sweet and spicy finish. My fave of the night has a very slight bitter note that could be the chestnut tannins. Not sure. I don't dislike it. Just can't not figure out what it is. So I just added a drop of water in mine to open it up.
Yeah, this is one of those bottles I've had a bunch of them, and I had forgotten that they're out of production. So the other, I think it was like maybe a month ago, I'm like, I'm looking for a high proof, something I can put on a nice big ice cube. And I just finished this thing off, and it was so good. Now I have to go look through my boxes to see if I have another bottle.
Oh. Ask for Dean. He knows where all the bottles are, if any left.
If there's any left, no one's gonna share them.
No, Cypress has it. It looks like Cypress has it. Cypress craft beer.
Ooh.
Who's got a big mouth? They're about to get muted. Let me at least finish placing my order.
I don't know what you're talking about. My mouth is normal size.
That's That's the rule in the group. I get to place my order and then we pass it on to everyone.
You know the game.
Yep, rush it.
You snooze,
All
you
right.
lose.
Now that I know you guys have this chat going on, who out of all the bottles that we've had so far, Vadim, can you help me out with this? Because I won't be able to count. What's everybody's number? How do we do this?
Oh, yeah, I have a poll. Yeah.
So Lucy, Vadim is very adept
Okay.
of putting together a poll. He'll be able to do that here if he hasn't already done it.
Oh,
I have one of the core expressions, but I can do it for the first 4. I have 2.
okay. So let's wait until we finish the black pits and then do a poll because that'll be fun.
I think
And then I might have some like gifts to mail
two
out.
polls. Do that. You could do core. Then you could say, hey, what do you like with all of them together?
Well,
What do you want to know, Lucy?
I'm gonna text. How do I talk to Vadim without anybody else hearing? I'm gonna.
So you go to where the chat is, where you see, and it says everyone at the very bottom, where you would type in.
Oh, okay, good.
Then you click on where it says everyone, and then you'll see
Got it.
Vadim direct message.
I got it.
You're- So I had a poll set up for the core 5, not including the chestnut, because I feel like it's not fair to include the chestnut in there, but I can tweak it. Oh, awesome. Yeah, definitely. Let's do that at the end. Let's do that right after we do a photo. 1 second. Let me put
Right,
that
so
here.
let's get to it. Now I'm getting excited.
Awesome.
It could be the whiskey that we've been drinking now for a little bit.
Yeah. So we're pouring the black pits now. I'm gonna kick you out of your presentation.
I mean, I still have some. I
Please
still
do.
have some chestnut, and I'm not dumping this. So
Okay.
let's
1 second.
let's nicely enjoy our chestnut real quick.
There we go. So let's
Oh.
enjoy our chestnut. And as we do that, I invite everyone to come back on camera. Brian, Mr. Debney, Fernando, let's get everyone back over here. Get all your smiling faces. There we go. The roses, that's a different brand, sir. That's a different brand.
Yes, wrong brand.
It's not. It's Valentine's Day.
It's only 3. You're okay. You're good.
Let me cover up the. Yeah.
Is John Debney gonna grace us with his presence? And Brendan, how do you have a 1 after you? Is there another Brendan that doesn't have the 1? Is there 2 of you in here?
Yeah, I'm too lazy to change my name based off what meetings I've been in on Zoom. So it's probably gonna be that every single time I sign in.
Oh,
Sorry.
look, I'm seeing all these faces I haven't seen. All these
There
people
you
are
go.
covering up.
If I keep waiting, I'm gonna have to keep drinking.
And keep drinking. All
Keep
right.
drinking, babe. Keep
Well,
drinking.
cheers to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Cheers to you, Lucy. Thank you so much. Cheers to Teeling. And cheers to everyone. Raise your glass. Smile to the camera.
Slancha.
Lanja.
Slanja.
One more. Perfect.
You make us wait so long, I'm gonna have to take 3 sips in between each
Yeah,
picture.
exactly.
But I got John into it. All right. It's worth it.
All right, who's picking up my bottle of Teeling from Cyprus then?
I got you, Jason.
Okay.
Hey, Kate, I gotta say, I like are you Irish? I like your little Irish pillow back there.
Yes, I am. And it's pronounced Slancha in Ireland, not
Yep.
Slanja. Slanja is Scottish.
Ah,
Just FYI.
What
What
if you're
do you-
both? Who cares?
how do you pronounce it?
Slancha.
Slanja.
No, Slancha.
Slancha.
Vodka.
Slanja.
But you know what? There's so many different dialects in Ireland. You're going to get different pronunciations too. So
I know they always say tanks a million.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks. I used to work with an Irish gal and I just loved it when she'd say tanks.
Oh, so I took my son to Ireland in 2019 and he was 9 at the time, or eight or 9 anyhow. We came back. He was so excited about us, or so excited every time anybody said tanks in Ireland. And when we got back from Ireland, every time we had to say thanks, we'd say tanks. It's so cute. Irish people are so amazing. I love Irish people. Okay, moving on to black bits.
Yeah, let's do it.
I stopped sharing, didn't I? Somehow.
Yeah, you can start again.
Okay. Oh, here we oh no, that's not the one. This one.
Do you know what was originally aged in the chestnut cask?
It's a single malt.
No. Not the drink, not the whiskey we're drinking, but
Oh.
Elijah was
Nice to
asking
meet you.
what is normally aged in chestnut. if not
Oh,
whiskey?
You bother me.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what would be aged in chestnut.
Okay, fair enough.
Actually, I take that back. So so if he found the chestnut barrels at a bodega in Spain for sherry, so I'm going to say sherry.
Fair enough.
That's just my assumption.
But I mean, as you pointed out, it's very porous wood.
Correct.
So it's not a very typical wood used for aging.
Correct.
Even if it was used for sherry, it would have been a unique choice.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Black Pits. It's our number 3 whiskey of the year through Whiskey Advocate that it just got like a month ago, which is really amazing. It's our only peated Irish whiskey. Excuse me. And so here it says peated malted barley at 55 ppms. ppms means parts per million, and that's just how they measure the smoke in the whiskey. It is not 55 ppms. It starts off at 55 ppms, but by the time it goes through the whole process of triple distilling and everything else, and it goes through the stills, blah, 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 it is bottled at 15 ppms. And I've been asking them to change this because it's deceiving. If people would see that and know what it, like anybody that would know what that meant, they would think it was a super peated whiskey. 55 ppms or above are more like Lafroy's, Ardbegs, Lagavulin types whiskey. Those are 55 ppms. Also, it's more of a smoky barbecue peat than an iodine Band-Aid peat, like our high peated Scotch whiskeys are. It is then aged, it's aged in, 2/3 of it is aged in bourbon and 1/3 of it is aged in ex-Sauterne cask. Sauterne is a sweet white wine. The thing about peat, 1, it is only found in Scotland. So yes, we get our peat from Scotland. 2, so there's 5 layers of peat.
Wait.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
There is a ton of peat other places in the world, and definitely in Ireland. And a lot of people especially on the West Coast, still heat their homes by burning peat.
Well,
so
yes.
it could be just that you're sourcing your peated malt from Scotland.
Yes, but okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not 100% sure about this. But what I was told is that the reason why we get it from Scotland is because there's so much of it there.
Yeah, that could be it. But definitely, I mean, even in Ireland right now, there are people peating their malt for their whiskeys.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know how many malting houses in Ireland are set up for peating, at least easily.
No, that's my point. It's still small scale. I understand they get it from Scotland because it's a bigger scale there. That makes sense. But just so you know, there's tons of peat.
Yeah, so I did misspeak on that. I always like with Scotland, there's so much of it. So I always forget. Yes, there is. I mean, there's no peat in the US. So I'm like, where's peat?
There actually is.
Is
there? Yeah.
Where?
Westland found peat in Washington. Yeah.
In Washington?
Yeah.
Is that what Westland uses for their peat, for their whiskey?
They haven't released it yet, but they're aging it. Yeah.
See,
there's peat bogs all over the world, actually.
So
but again, peated malt, that's different. They've got just tons of they've got a lot of production of peated malt in Scotland.
Yeah, Scotland.
So the juice comes from there. That makes sense.
Yeah. And it's probably easiest to get from Scotland as well, since it's right next door. Anyhow, one thing I do know, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but so there's 5 layers to peat, the bottom being the most compact and the most, I guess not the most, but being the most compact and the less. So the higher you get in the peat, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1 being the top 3 are what they mostly use for the Scotch whiskeys that are really high on the ppms. We use the 5 and the 4 on our peat because that's more of the smoky flavorings that we can get out of whiskeys. So I know that that's the peat that we use out of the peat. So that's what gives it more of a barbecue smoke, applewood smoke, instead of the high iodine band-aid stuff. I mean, I personally like Scotch whiskey that's peated, but I can only have a little bit of it because it blows out my palate. But I know there's people that absolutely love their peated whiskey, and that's fine. So what do we think about this?
For a peated whiskey, it's quite good. And I think I've heard reviews of essentially saying that it's the 55 ppm scares you on the label, but when you actually taste it, it's very delicate. It's very nice.
I know they need to change that to 15. It just, I get that it was 55 ppms when it started, but it's not 55 ppms when it's bottled. So that's just wrong. Anyhow. All right. Good job, Vadim. You already started this. What was your favorite expression from the core range? So before we get on to this, let me see if I'm done. Yeah.
I by the way, I like that this is aged in or finished in the Sauterne, and you can really taste that.
You can really taste it, and it gives it the sweetness, and it gives it the roundness of the whiskey, which I really like. It doesn't blow out your palate. That's why it won top 3 whiskey of the world, because it is a really well-rounded peated Irish whiskey.
Right. Well balanced, I would say, because yeah. So for me, it's high praise to say I don't hate it, because I don't like peated whiskeys. And so I don't hate it. So this is good.
Awesome. Did you try a bite of chocolate with it? Because I'm going to do that right now. I wonder if that'll.
Oh, I am, and it's amazing.
Which one did you have? I don't want the strawberry one.
No, I'm on the one that has like the little. I don't know if you can see it. That one.
Ooh, the stripes.
I did the round one with the Baglioni, and it was really good.
I think the coconut's gonna go really well with this.
I don't know. I don't know which one that is.
But I'm curious to see what people do. Do
Vadim,
you all agree?
Can you stop sharing? Can you stop sharing?
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm curious if you all agree that I asked to put the peated one at the end.
Lucy, can you see that one?
No, there's a box in the middle.
Oh.
Why is there a box in the middle?
Okay.
Oh, I X'd out of the poll. Sorry.
Okay,
what is it?
What's that? What's the gold wrapped one?
Try it.
And I had another strawberry one, by the way.
That strawberry one. No, thank you.
I had another one. All right. What were you going to show me? The rose guy?
I ate it.
Oh,
strawberry one. No,
Very
thank
good,
you.
David. We're proud of
throw it out the. I'm gonna use it as a pellet.
Oh my God,
for those
Lucy.
birds that
Have
wake
to
me up in the morning.
it was Vadim's fault. He had a poll going before.
You're supposed to know to check on it.
And you also have your roses on, so we can't see anything that you're holding.
Go ahead, David. Show us. I made you a spotlight. That's it. Everyone's gonna watch you. Show us your stripy candy. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is that which one's that?
This one. Got it.
That's the chocolate with the cocoa and caramel center.
Oh.
There's instructions on the back?
Yes, on the very bottom.
Oh, they have the paper one on top.
There you go. Now everybody knows what the gold foil one is.
Cream chocolate with cocoa nibs.
With cocoa nips?
Nibs. That's what it says on the paper.
I have unwrapped
nibs.
I have unwrapped the gold one.
Ooh. All right, I think everybody voted, and I already closed the poll, but I did not include the chestnut in the poll because I felt like it would be unfair because everybody would choose chestnut. Lucy, what do you think was the favorite of the night on the core lineup?
That was rich.
Hot stone.
No.
Single grain.
Single malt. 41%
Wow.
voted for single malt, 18%
Wow.
tied for single grain and pot still, and then 12% small batch and black pots, black pits, which is
Wow.
nice. And if you look at it
That's a-
sideways, it's not a very nice thing to show people.
It's a perfect bell distribution.
That's right. Yes, let's say it that way.
It is a very normal distribution. You could totally wow my child with that as the math PhD kid,
Which one?
Adam,
Oh.
the one who has to finish that damn dissertation. What was that?
That's
I
the
keep-
coconut one.
I keep getting fed chocolates here.
Oh, poor you.
Your
Is-
husband, I haven't even seen one.
Is your servant with the fan blowing it too hard or what?
I don't usually eat chocolates.
Hmm.
I don't either.
So Alec is tasting them and saying, "Yes, you'll like this one," and he puts it in front of you.
Mm.
Well, I usually take a bite and I throw it away.
I'm not a big chocolate person. Don't be ashamed.
I'm one of those that usually takes a bite and says, I don't like these.
I don't like chocolate either. I'm with you, girl.
No, I agree.
I'm not a big
All right,
fan.
no more chocolate for you all. Forget it. Never mind. I go out of my way, get you all chocolate. I see how it is.
Do you know what it is, Vadim? You know what those espresso beans or those would be awesome.
Espresso beans.
Espresso beans?
Yeah,
Chocolate.
espresso beans or like chocolate covered, what we ever know is already inside them.
Or just coffee. Coffee's great.
Yes, coffee is great.
We've done coffee before.
Or just
So-
more whiskey.
Lucy, you said you wanted to do something fun while we have most of the people here.
Yes. I just okay.
The pancake thing is really fun.
She's
What-
not doing it ever again, she said.
Okay,
You
so
just
I
have to find some.
I have a couple gifts that I like to give away.
Randomizer!
Jesus.
Randomizer!
Okay. I should have asked Vadim about this beforehand.
Oh no, he is so adaptable and so good at this. You cannot trip the man up.
All right, so I'm gonna ask you guys a question.
Okay.
And should I send it to Vadim and then Vadim can do it as a how do you want to do it, Vadim? I don't know.
How do you want to do it? You tell me.
I don't know. You can't say what I just said.
we normally will run a randomizer wheel. So I'll put the names in a randomizer. You tell me what we're giving away, and we raffle it off that way.
So
Okay.
all the names that of all the participants here will be in a spinning wheel, and then he spins it, and whatever you have as a gift, they get it.
But it sounded like she wanted to ask a question and then give the prize to whoever gave her the correct answer.
We can do that too.
I'd like to do that.
Okay, let's do that. So
Okay, and
then,
so the first gift will be
can I win? Can I play?
sure. I don't see
Alright.
why not. No, I mean,
So how do you want to do it? Well, a bunch of people are
Okay,
muted.
so I have three gifts. Should I
Okay,
start off with the bottom gift or with the top gift?
bottom gift.
But you're going to have 3 different questions.
Yes.
Okay, and do you want people to blurt it out, or do you want people
He's
to put
just
it in
gonna
the
mute
chat?
us all and take all the gifts.
Oh yes, let's turn off unmute, mute everyone, and then I can
That's a
blurt out
great
the answer.
idea. Yeah.
Thanks for the suggestion.
No, I trust Vadim. He's not gonna do that.
Or ask the question and the first person to type in the correct answer in the chat.
That works. Let's do that.
Okay, let's do that.
Everybody, fingers on
Wait,
keys.
now I got it. You got to hold on. I got to figure out the question because I wasn't ready. I'm gonna mute myself.
That works. Figure out questions, and then you can throw them out. And wait, somebody left. No, we lost one person. And Marissa says bottom. I don't know what she's referring to.
More for us.
There you go.
Okay, so the first gift, I can say this much. The first gift is a Teeling t-shirt and a pin.
All right.
Okay. Let's see.
Where's Ian? Ian needs to win this because he didn't get a pin because I messed up. So you better participate, Ian.
These are new pins too. We just got them like.
Woo.
Let me think. Okay, I have a question. Should I just write
it out?
that?
Just
Should
say
I write?
it.
Okay,
Just
blurt
say
it
it.
out. Okay. What year did John Teeling come back to Ireland to open his first distillery, Cooley?
All right, there's a lot of answers. Ooh. Oh, it's flooding. It's flooding.
Okay,
David
so
cheated
who was
and
the
just-
first one?
What's the answer?
Elijah got it.
What?
On my birth year?
1987.
1987? I knew that was the answer.
Yeah,
That
you
was too
got it, but
slow.
all the way down here, but Dame Burek, you're out.
I'm slow. I'm out. All right, fine. Elijah can pick up. from
Okay,
me.
wait, let me write these down.
Dyslexia is the wrong answer.
Elijah won.
Congratulations, Elijah.
Next question.
Okay, so Elijah probably shouldn't participate in the second one, right?
All right, there we go.
Elijah, you're out.
You can still
I mean,
participate.
you're in, but you're out, but you're not going to win again. All right, second question. No, we're moving so quickly here. Let me think.
What's the prize?
Sorry, it's the same. I have the same prize for the second one,
All right.
and the first one will be different.
Okay. I was gonna say
Same
you should just make people win and then decide what you would give, but it's fine. For now, we know all the
Oh,
prizes.
because the one is like the big gift.
Okay.
Um.
And you can only win if you're on camera.
I like that one.
Get back on camera, Brian, Marissa, Teeling.
Oh my gosh, I'm trying to come up with a question. Hold on, you guys. Hold on.
Question is, what year was Vadim born?
Brian, get back on camera.
All right, this is going to be an easy question.
All right.
What year did Stephen and Jack Teeling start building the distillery in Dublin? Kate.
A bunch of answers got thrown
Kate
out.
won. Kate won.
All right. 2012, huh?
Yes.
Okay. That's not even enough time for me to Google it. You can't.
You obviously weren't paying attention.
That's my bad.
Okay, next question.
Congratulations, Kate. All right. Grand prize.
Grand prize. Now, maybe for this one, we can do the wheel thing. How about that?
Sure. Works for me. Kate already won.
Okay, I'll tell you the prize. I didn't tell you the prize. And I was supposed to show you the prize, but I forgot it in my car. Sorry. So it's a gift set with 2 Teeling bucket glasses for whiskey, some whiskey stones, and some whiskey coasters.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Is there whiskey in this?
No whiskey in this.
All right, just checking.
All right.
You
who do I
gotta go to the store for that, Kate.
got to kick some people out of this wheel. Hold on 1 second. Let me share the wheel. You can all help me. Of those who are here, you can help me. Show me who is not. Who am I kicking out?
You kicked
Show me
out.
20.
Well, no. If you spin the wheel and they're not here, then you just spin it again.
All right,
Yeah.
fair enough. That works.
Good enough.
I'm adding Vadim because that sounds awesome. I can't even spell it because it's so lame. There, Vadim.
That's
Vadim is
hilarious.
All right, ready? Drum roll, please.
I just want to play, just play. It's fun.
And yes, keep going. No, damn it.
Michael Mandy. Right on.
Congratulations. Let's see how
Thank you
far
very
Vadim
much.
was away.
Thank you.
Rigged.
Awesome. Congratulations to all the winners.
There you go. Yay.
Sorry, yeah, Teeling was not on the list. I specifically took him off.
Teeling was on camera, so you need to do another spin.
Awesome.
Teeling, I can share Teeling. It's fine.
We should all buy Teeling and share some Teeling.
Yes, please.
Oh, did you see Teeling was showing us the results of the poll? That was interesting.
Yes, he was.
Awesome. Yeah, any questions? Any more nuggets of knowledge? I think we've tasted through everything. I think we can if there's nothing else, we can say thank yous and turn off the camera and just hang out.
For a little bit,
Yeah.
but I didn't want that. I want.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for the fun night. Thank you, Lucy, for the awesome, fun event. We loved it. Like I said, we're not kicking anybody out. Everybody's welcome to hang out for the after hours. You all know what that means. But we will hit and stop to this recording and just hang out. So cheers. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, everybody. Thank you, everybody. You guys were awesome.
Cheers.
Really fun.
Thank you.
I will get those gifts. I will get your addresses from Vadim for the 3 gifts and mail those out to you.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you're
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you.
I'm gonna log off.